and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Folks, we've been talking about this on Hard Lens Media, that it was going to happen. And when we get to to that story about the general strike that's taking place, the hashtag Striketober, hashtag general strike, it was going to happen. People can only take so much BS for so long. And it's been happening under both Democratic and Republican presidential administrations. So before you ever see anyone on social media saying, well, Republicans can govern better or Democrats can govern better, remember, it's a two-party system that's been screwing us over. Yep. If you think that the Democratic and Republican Party actually ever gave a damn about you, well, I'm so sorry. You're a very good puppet, but don't believe the corporate lies. Don't believe the establishment lies. If we don't break away from this two-party system, they'll keep on screwing us over. So all these workers right now that are striking right now, you're the heroes, and time to fight for your rights. With that being said, we need to get started with our first segment. So let's get started. Hashtag forced to vote. Remember how people were saying that it's not a smart tactic, that it's going to backfire? No one really uses it. Why should anyone try and do a forced to vote? Why would everyone ever suggest it? Jerry, do you remember that? I remember people yelling at Chicago's very own Jimmy Dore about hashtag forced to vote.
Wait, Jimmy Dore was right?
I guess so.
When is he ever wrong? When is he ever wrong? Well, people do not realize they got to take this guy seriously, and they have to listen. Jimmy's not, coddling both sides. He's holding the Democrats as accountable as we normally hold the Republicans accountable. Yeah. The problem is that's the kickback. Nobody wants to take him seriously because they act like the Democrats are perfect, untouchable, and we know that's not the case.
Yeah, and we can't have that anymore. So, with that being said, I actually want to play this first video from Case Study QB. Shout out to him. He's doing a lot of fantastic work, and all the best to him too as well. Basically, he's a lot of independent media networks unofficial producer. So there you go. He's sitting through corporate media so we don't have to. So it turns out Chucky Boy Schumer, that's right, the Senate leader, is talking about rallying and doing a forced to vote. Now, apologies for this video that's going to be playing because the two commentators are going to be talking about baseball before they actually get to the real issue at hand. And trust me, I want to smack these guys upside the head too. So let's play this first video.
Capitol Hill, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced Democrats will try again next week to advance a voting rights measure. Schumer said the vote will be scheduled for next Wednesday and is needed in order to offset new restrictions enforced by Republicans across the country. Joining us now to talk about this, co-founder of Punchbowl News and newly minted Red Sox fan, John Bresnahan. John, good morning. Thanks for being here. Let's start with there.
Don't lie to your viewers about the Red Sox fan. No.
Well, I think it's hard to imagine someone of such...
You have more respect for people like that. Come on. New Dodger fan, maybe.
Fine.
Yeah.
All right, pause it right here for a second. I'm sorry, pause it here for 1 second. All right, let's keep the video up here. But, think about how much time you wasted right now. Now, look, I understand we have our own banter here on our show. We like to go back and forth with each other. But let's face it, right now, with this $3.5 trillion budgetary bill that the Democrats are working so hard to fight for, a lot of Americans are still confused about the message thanks to the failure of corporate media and the Democrats. People need to get clear facts about what is going on because there will be some consequences and repercussions for the Democrats going into the 2022 midterm election cycle. Now, again, I couldn't care about the Democrats, but again, when it comes down to reporting news, there's reasons why people are losing faith and trust in corporate media because of stuff like this, all the while Americans are struggling day in, day out just to make ends meet. Let's play the rest of the video.
So I would have a hard time imagining, though, that any right-thinking American would be rooting for the Houston Astros this week. But let's go back to voting rights. Senate Republicans and Democrats are obviously on a collision course about this next week. What can we expect? What's the purpose of this vote, which seems doomed to fail? How does it play out?
Yeah, this vote is not going to pass. This is a test vote, essentially. This is a cloture vote. They're going to try to overcome a Republican filibuster. The important thing for Democrats to hear is they've got 50 Democrats on it. They couldn't get Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer couldn't get Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia to sign on to an earlier version of this voting rights legislation. Now they reworked it, and now Manchin supports this bill. So you'll see a unified Senate Democratic caucus. That's kind of what Schumer's trying to do here. He's trying to make the point that all 50 Senate Democrats are supportive of voting rights reform.
Wow. So, Jerry, hey, turns out Chucky Boy the Shoe is trying to do a forced to vote. All the while, again, It's like he can't even control his own Senate thanks to the actions of Sinema and Manchin, who, again, we've basically kind of all cleared out the fact that they're corporate owned. Jerry, your thoughts?
You mean President Manchin and Vice President Sinema?
Oh, thank you for the correction. Forgot about that.
Isn't it interesting how the Democrats can force a vote when it serves the agenda that they want to see pushed through?
Yes, a measly
while controlling opposition everywhere else with Manchin and Sinema and the fraud squad. I mean, it is what it is, Kit. When they want to get shit done, that's when they'll force the vote. When they want to block things, that's when suddenly force the vote is something that is not an arrow in Nancy or anybody else's quiver. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's rampant fraud back and forth. We come on and talk about this all the time. They are hypocrites. They're not, and they define themselves as our leaders, right? They're not our leaders. They're our representatives, and they are not effing representing us. And anytime I hear Nancy Pelosi or anybody in Congress identify themselves as our leaders is when I want to scream from the rooftops and take them down a notch. You're not our leaders. This is not leadership. You're our representatives. Start acting like representatives. You know, now that it's important to them to force the vote to get what they want, even though they've got the filibuster coming up, they're willing to use that tool. Why don't they use it other times? Because they don't want to.
Agreed, 100%. But there's another thing, too, we got to take away from this. Number one, when the Democrats do want to force the vote, it's for this not even 3.5 anymore. They're talking about negotiating to, 2.5, 2 trillion now? And the number's going to keep on getting lower and lower. And remember, just to quoting Representative Pramila Jayapal, the number was originally at 7 trillion. Not high enough. The bare minimum should be 10 trillion. Matter of fact, let's even go higher. It should be 15, 20 trillion. We need to properly invest into our country. And our politicians don't understand just how stagnant our entire economy has become, our entire infrastructure has become, our social programs, everything. But the Democrats are going to do this performative art, and that's what this force the vote is going to be. But when it came down to force the vote for Medicare for All, that was hosted by Jimmy Dore, Breonna Joy Gray, Justin Jackson, and so many other heroic individuals that got 100,000 plus people to watch it, what did the progressive members, the 15 congressmen and women who were on the force the vote petition, what did they do? They didn't acknowledge it, or they said it was violence. When it came down to force the vote for 15, what did the progressives do? They didn't do anything. And Sinema did her little infamous curtsy and walked off and gave cake to her fellow Senate colleagues. If this doesn't convince you that now this is just performative art, this forced the vote, that's all it is. Because again, this big fight for this 3.5, which will be getting lower, much lower, the real truth is that they're trying to show you that they kind of know what they're doing, but they don't. Let's look at how 30 to 40 million Americans are right now at risk of being evicted from their homes, how we don't have Medicare for all, how we don't have student debt forgiveness, how there are no social programs to help out working class families. So what is the real solution? Yeah, Democrats, you could do the force the vote as much as you want. Hashtag force the vote. Guess hashtag Jimmy Dore was right. So it is possible, but it's only if the Democrats care about it. The Democrats don't care about any of the progressive values that we care for. They don't care about the issues that we want. So here's what we have to do. We have to do it ourselves. You're seeing all these workers right now walk off the job. Why? Because they have nothing left to lose. They're given crumbs, and now those crumbs are being swept away. We demand a fair deal, a people's relief. This 3.5 trillion won't do anything. And if you look at the bill, they're talking about privatizing everything. And then the Democrats are all on board with getting rid of all the progressive things that we want in there, in theory. Bernie Sanders, this is your legacy. But I guess Jimmy Dore is right about you too, Bernie. Maybe you are just a cuck, even though people did believe in you. Fraud Squad, where are you at? 15 congressmen and women who were on the force the vote petition. You ran on Medicare for all. You could have acknowledged force the vote for Medicare for all. You couldn't be there. You couldn't actually take action. By your silent, obedient consent, when the Biden-Harris administration got into power, you allowed yourselves to be played. So if you're going to be a Democrat running in the 2022 midterm election cycle and you choose to be on our show, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. Why should I believe you? When are you going to get corrupted? What are you prepared to risk to be a one-term House representative or U.S. senator? No more playing nice. No more saying, oh, wouldn't it be great to have more progressives? I want to see people fight, not cry or get bullied, or just say there's nothing that can't be done. Everyone, Jimmy was right, but the Democrats will only force the vote when it matters. Jerry, do you have any other final notes?
Yeah, it comes down to what are they going to do to represent us? That should be the question, along with what you just stated. What are you going to do for us? What are you going to do for us that you've promised before and reneged on, and why should we believe you again? Start representing us. I just wanted to also add one quick clarification. As you were talking previously, you said, it didn't seem that they understood. It's not that they didn't understand, they didn't care. They don't care unless it's what they want to put through. So
you know what? Then let me apologize. And let me apologize.
No, it's no apologies necessary.
I assume the Democrats, you know what? Maybe I'm just being overly generous. But you know what, Jerry?
Yes.
That's why you're my co-host. You're bringing things right back down to the ground. I wanted to be generous. I guess I can't be good old Santa Claus, but I can be good old Guy Fawkes. When we give benefit of the doubt is usually when our benefit, they bite us. They bite us back. That's the problem. True. Yeah, but at this point, my solution, and maybe this might upset people, but, especially to vote blue no matter who, I'll support third parties. That's what I'm going to do.
My light just went out. It'll probably pop on again, so just let FaZe know not to adjust anything over there. I'll figure this out on this end.
I think that's a good note to end it. Wait, Jerry, for this segment, yes. That's a good note to end it on, because as the Democrats turn the lights off, they're assuming that we're not even still watching them. # force the vote. Right. # Jimmy Dore was right.